Hello, folks, and welcome to Change Your POV podcast. I am your host, Bennett, and Eddie and I sit down in this interview with U.S. Army First Sergeant, about to retire, Curtez Riggs. And he's spent about 21 years in the military, or I should say in the Army. But he's also, over about the last decade, become a digital entrepreneur and has all kinds of websites and stuff that he has flipped, and also is putting on the Mill Blogging Influencers Conference down in Texas this October. So we sit down and talk to Curtez in this great episode. Enjoy this Attack Friday. Change Your POV podcast and all its shows within its network are working together to bring the best coaches, entrepreneurs, business leaders, and mentors in the industry to teach you guys how to crush it in life, love, wellness, and your transitions both at home and at work. Imagine having a mix of experienced mentors teaching you their expertise, packing decades of research, experience, education, testing, and tough lessons into a concise curriculum. We've created one of the premier veteran transitional podcasts available anywhere, and it's free. This is the show we wished we had over a decade ago. Now, this show is about you, and we're here to help you become just as successful out of uniform as you were when you were in every area of your life. Make sure you stay up to date with everything going on here and get some free giveaways, ebooks, downloads, and exercises that will help you become more prepared in your post-military life by signing up for the newsletter at changeyourpov.com. If you're new to the show but want to learn more about us and what we teach on the Change Your POV podcast network, you can head over to changeyourpov.com/about us.
One of my little ones just hopped in a car to come to Houston for a change of command tomorrow. So all of this is last minute, gentlemen. I apologize, but we'll make the best of it.
Are you still in?
Yeah, I'm still serving.
Oh, okay. I didn't know.
Yep,
yeah, go ahead.
My last day in the Army is April 30th of 2018.
Nice.
I just did my change of responsibility, so now I'm relaxing and maxing and, sort of getting ready to go through all this retirement junk.
How many years you got, you say?
I'll finish with 21.
Nice. All right. And
Awesome.
what unit you got now?
So wait, say that one more time.
What unit you in now?
So I'm active Army. I'm assigned to the U.S. Army Recruiting Command. So I've been putting great Americans in boots for about 17 years now.
Wow. So
Nice.
how does that break down? You in charge of like a certain region or what?
Yes. So I'm an E8. I'm not, saying that to brag or boast because that isn't it at all. But at my level, I was a first sergeant, and typically we're responsible for a region. I'm in the San Antonio, so San Antonio Recruiting Battalion essentially has like 6 or 7 different companies. If you draw a line down the middle of San Antonio, which is a 281 highway, there's a west side of the city that shoots out about 3.5 to 4 hours west of San Antonio. And then the east side of San Antonio is the Metro Recruiting Company, which was the organization that I was just in charge of.
Okay.
Gotcha.
So how many recruiting stations does that include? Recruiting stations and MEP stations as well?
So at the battalion level, so both you guys, well, one of you or Bennett was Army. Eddie, what were you?
I was Army.
Okay,
I
got
was,
it. So,
I was a Marine in the Army.
Right.
oh, man, you another one of those guys, right?
I had to throw it out there because I knew you would be that way.
Did you walk around with your little ribbons claiming all the stuff that you did in the Marine Corps too?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Because you didn't get any.
Yeah, right.
No, it's all good, man. Nothing but love. Nothing but love. So, in recruiting at the battalion level, you have a battalion, and typically a battalion has 1 or 2 MEPs. So while we have personnel assigned to the MEPs, the Military Entrance Processing Station, it isn't a place that necessarily the battalion owns. It's owned by MEPCOM. And don't ask me what that acronym stands for. I'd be lost in no time. I'm going through that brain dump process where I'm forgetting all this junk the Army's taught me over 21 years and sort of trying to learn everything I need to move on into the civilian sector now.
Control Alt Delete.
Oh man, I wish it was that easy, right?
That's awesome. So what other units, you weren't recruiting the whole time, I can't imagine.
So, I mean, I have an interesting story. I've been in the Army for, well, it'll be 21 years for me this December. I joined the Army in, what was it? I was an early graduate, February of 97. So I left for basic training, one station unit training as a 19 Delta. Did my time there.
Yeah.
Nice. Scout.
Yeah. Yep. I'm a scout with not much experience. So from there, I went to Bragg, hung out for a few years. I was picked up as a corporal recruiter. So I was a E4, a specialist in the Army. They sent me from the 82nd to my hometown of Flint, Michigan to learn how to recruit. And let's just say I was so good at it. I mean, it was kind of awkward being 20 and working out of my high school recruiting kids that were 3 to 4 years younger than me. Mm-hmm. So, this is an inside joke, right? But I graduated class of 97. My wife is class of 99. I'm not going to tell you how we met.
That's a secret.
Yeah, it's a secret, but it's on the internet, right?
Yeah, that's my soldier. My soldier actually just graduated from the Master Recruiting Academy or something like that.
So they have like a master recruiter badge that This is the new thing that they started. So our command is different. I'm just going to leave it at that. But our command is a little bit different. And we used to have an award system in place that was based on an individual's performance. So if I was a good recruiter, I went out there and I told my Army story to a bunch of great Americans and they decided to grow up to be like me. Essentially, what they would do is join the Army and I would get like points. And these points, if I got enough of them, I received certain awards. So the ballers, the guys that put in a lot of a lot of people in the Army, we got like rings, awards, and medallions. And that's how we earned our recognition. So when we walk around, we had like a gold badge. Well, commanding generals change. They felt as if that incentivizing individual production was causing a lot of problems across the ranks. So, kinder, gentler Army, that type of approach, they took the individual awards away and they based the entire mission off of what we call a team concept. So no longer is it based on what you individually do and then support the team. In order to be recognized, essentially, you got to make sure that the team crosses the line. And I'm going to be frank, man, recruiting is a sales job. I don't care what you call it or how you choose to label it. Until you had to walk into a high school, and I'm 38, so, you can only imagine me having to walk to a high school, talking to some 17-year-old kid who knows everything, who has no sense of discipline, who's never been responsible for anything. And I have to introduce him to a new concept that's been bred in me for 20 years. It's not easy. So you have to have a certain knack in order to be good at this job. And everybody isn't. So we had to figure out creative ways to engage all the team members so that we could collectively come across the line. But when they did that, they took away the individual awards. There wasn't really a recognition system. So somebody had the great idea that we'll develop a master recruiter badge, essentially that awards soldiers based on their competencies. Basically, how well you read task conditions and standards and execute to the T. So if I give you this sheet of paper and you can remember everything on it and you do it just like this paper says, guess what happens? You get the award.
But that
of course, it's not.
Yeah, but that has nothing to do with actually putting people in, right?
No, it does not. It does not.
So, all right. So, but here's the thing, right? I get where the Army's going with this, right? Because I can see both sides of the fence. But at the same time, to your point, at the end of the day, recruiting is a sales job, and I don't care where you go. When you get out of the military, you land a sales job. Every sales job I know, okay, maybe not everyone, but pretty much for the most part, almost all sales jobs are incentive based, right? There's bonuses,
yes.
And because that's really the best way for a company or organization because sales is not an easy gig. It just isn't. And so you have to motivate the sales force a lot differently than you do somebody that just shows up and punching a clock.
Of course.
working 9 to 5. So interesting, huh? Very cool.
But think about that for a minute. So incentivizing the sales force. Now we have to come up with creative ways to convince a young E5 that's getting a paycheck regardless to do the job and still be successful at it. Of course, most of us in the military, we're ambitious. We want to get promoted. Our promotion ultimately equals what type of money we have in the bank. Depends on how you manage your money, of course. So we want to do things that are going to put us in positions to ultimately get promoted.
Right.
That's the challenge behind it. It sort of it made it, in my opinion, it made the command sort of we weren't promoting the best because all of us started to look alike, if you can follow what I'm saying with that.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be on here sounding like a bitter old man because that's not it at all. I'm super excited for my transition. And if my commitment would have been there, if other opportunities wouldn't have fell in my lap, trust me, I would be in the Army for 26, 27 years. But it's given me exactly what I needed. And I want to leave at a point where I'm comfortable and I'm happy. I don't want to be that old man that's still running around trying to lead troops, but he hates himself and he hates what he's doing. Therefore, I have to leave while, I still got both of my fingers in the air.
Yep.
I should say both of my thumbs in the air, not fingers. And I'm leaving on a positive note. So I'm happy with the situation I found myself in. I've had a great and interesting career.
Hell yeah. So Bennett and I were talking actually on my way home from work. We chatted for a little bit and we were talking about, and I don't know how it is in the recruiting world, but do they call you top?
They do.
All right. So
we were laughing because we're like, man, we're like, now how do you say your first name?
It's Curtez. So
we were like, Curtez has got his kids calling him top.
Yeah.
I know it.
No, he does.
Hold on 1 second. Hey, Justice, come here for a second. Watch this. So I'm going to put my son on, okay?
Yeah.
All right. So he's 9. Say something, Justice. Don't be shy. Just say something. Say hi.
Hi.
Hi, Justice.
Hi.
So ask him what he calls me.
What do you call your daddy, Justice?
Old man.
Old man.
Now go sit down.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah. It's all good. It's all good. But no, my family, I have a unique setup because I've grown up in recruiting. I've always been away from the military.
Yeah.
So, there's 5 or 6 soldiers in Cincinnati, Ohio, as an example, was a unit that I was stationed at. The Cincinnati Recruiting Company. I ran a recruiting station there several years ago.
Oh, wait.
It was just me.
Maybe you know my soldier then. The guy I was just talking about. Sergeant Milbrock?
Huh. No, Milbrock, no.
Okay. Well, you
guys name doesn't ring it.
Well, he wasn't there the whole time, so maybe you guys just crossed paths, but that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, so no, I've always been geographically dispersed away from the mainstream military.
Right.
There were some locations. So my family doesn't really have similar experiences that other military families do.
Yeah.
Right.
So
yeah, I do. One of my good buddies, and actually, because we'll kind of segue into the conversation we're going to have about podcasting. One of my good buddies, he spent his first year in the fleet in the Marine Corps as just a regular. He was a supply guy. The fleet. His other time, the other 11 years that he spent in the Corps were as a recruiter. He got out as a gunny. But Dan Evans, he's also a podcaster.
Yeah.
But he spent 11 of his 12 years in the Marine Corps as a recruiter as well.
Yeah.
Man.
It's definitely pretty face. I'm sorry.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. I saw Dan yesterday up at the USAA headquarters.
Is he still Is he still slaying dragons or? Oh, he's out now, right? He's out.
Yeah, he's out now. Okay. He's out now.
So he's out. He's hanging over at USAA, doing great things for that organization.
Yeah, he's awesome.
He's a smooth looking guy, and I looked at him. And I said, "Hey, man, do you know who I am?" And he looked me in the face and he got kind of scared and he said, Curtez? And I said, "Yeah, bro, I'm glad to see you remember me." So, it was kind of a cool, meeting yesterday.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm glad to see. Well, I mean, I know that they're a little far from home, but, he's got some good things going on now, so it's really good stuff.
Yes. Yes, I always love it when someone, that comes from the digital space. Yes, he was a service member, but, there's always more to us. And, he chose podcasting as an option. And he was able to translate his skills and land a job at one of the best companies that, the military currently has.
For sure.
That's right.
For sure.
So
he's got a beautiful family too. So
yes,
it's one of those, it's good to see guys like that make it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
Sure. So I gotta ask, like, how long have you been working the veterans, the military space in terms of like putting together these events? And I mean, obviously, a lot of what you're doing is maybe augments your recruiting gig, but it's definitely not. I mean, you do a lot of stuff that's not directed by the military, obviously, right?
Oh yeah, and nothing I do is buying for the military. Or let me rephrase that. It's not something that my chain of command told me to do. This is something that I'm passionate about, and it's like the evolution of my business model.
And it's your side for the time being. It's your side gig.
Yeah, it's my side gig.
Might not seem that way. But I know, yeah.
So how long you been doing your side gig, and what are the different types of stuff? Because the reason I ask is because all of a sudden, like, Curtez just kind of popped out of this like hole somewhere, and I didn't really know of you or about you, and then all of a sudden you're like everywhere. It's like I'm trying to figure out like what the hell did I miss?
Yeah, I'm just gonna say this. Number one, because I'm still serving. I've always been hesitant about coming out of the closet, if you can follow me.
No. And here's the thing: I really want you to talk more about this, because this is the same thing that we find so often with currently serving military members of all branches. Is they want to do more. They want to expand on their side gig, so to speak. But they're hesitant. They don't want to use their name on social media. They don't want to, and the perfect segue. I really want to kind of explore this a little bit, because I want to get your take on it.
Mm-hmm. So, I've been in this space since 2010, and there's been an evolution of my business. So I was a young Sergeant First Class. I had this bright idea that I was going to find a way to make extra money. So I'm going to take you back a little bit.
Sure.
So I tried several different side hustles, like little jobs. I mean, the worst job that I've ever done was I worked hand in hand with like a mortician. Essentially, he gave me a truck with a stretcher on the back of it. And when there were incidents around the Baltimore area, I would take this truck and I would recover the remains, literally.
Damn.
And I would take it to a funeral home and put it in a cooler. So that was my job for a while. They paid me like $200 a weekend. They gave me a truck and I was on call for a 24-hour shift. It was interesting, but that started something. The problem was I was doing so much that I was neglecting my job in the Army. So I had to come to a point where I'm like, okay, I'm doing this. I'm making a lousy $800 a month. It's paying my car note and insurance, whatever it may be. But I have to be real here. The Army, my job is really what's holding me down. How do I find that balance? Mm-hmm. So I had to let that job go. 2009, I believe, I went through a extremely nasty divorce. I'm going to get kind of personal. So, and it's all, I'm taking it somewhere. But 2009, I went through a nasty divorce. I was left with nothing. And when I walked out of that, my credit score was a 432. Yes, credit scores can go that low.
Wow.
It was a nasty situation. I couldn't rent an apartment. It was that bad for me. But at the same time, it was a lesson learned. I learned how to go about, fixing or repairing myself with the problems that I had. So I got on the internet, started Googling around, started reading other blogs and following like a website was called Credit Boards. And it essentially walked us through different scenarios on how to communicate with creditors and work through the problem. Well, I got a secured credit card from Navy Federal. I had like a $200 credit limit with them. And essentially what I would do is I would buy something, I would pay it off. And I went about that process of repairing my credit till I could qualify for a regular credit card. So I think it was like 14, 15 months later, I was at a point where my credit score was above 600. I'm on baller status now, right? So, I'm like, okay, if I can do this for me, I can teach other people how to do it. So I proceed to, look to your left and right. When you come up with a hustle, the first people you turn to are family and friends. So I'm from Flint, Michigan. I have a lot of people up there with bad credit and other type of money problems. So I told them basically, hey, look, $30 a month. I'll walk you through the process that I did. So I'll call myself creating my first product. And I did that for about 2 months. Didn't make much money. But what I did was I lost a lot of friends because you quickly learn that when that relationship changes, these people, they had extremely high expectation for $30 a month, and it didn't go anywhere. So here I am. I call myself with 3 or 4 clients. They're paying me chump change, but I thought this is what I had to do to break in. Let's just say that didn't last long either. But what came from that, I had a very simple website that I set up, and I can't tell you, what company I used or anything like that. It was like just one of them simple website templates you throw together. And my company was called something like Stepping Stones Credit Solutions, but it was what I thought I needed to do. So once again, I'm Googling, I find a website. I emailed the owner of this website because he had a banner ad for myfico.com. At the time, I didn't know anything about a banner ad. I just saw that this guy had a picture of myfico.com, and I'm like, okay, I want the same thing. So I emailed him, and he sent me a response back and basically said, it's affiliate marketing, you idiot. Plain words, I still have the email. And through that, it opened up a whole lot of doors for me. So you guys know a little bit about affiliate marketing. I don't mean to insult you, but, It opened up doors. So instead of, having clients, the internet could be my client, and a client that could go to Google and they could find my content would now generate commissions for me. And I took off from there. So from 2010 to 2013, I was building blogs from nothing. I would come up, I'd figure out a niche. I do my homework. I learned all about, keyword research, search engine optimization, all that fun stuff that goes along with what we do on the internet. And through that, I started building blogs, but it was taking up a lot of my time. I was launching a new blog every 90 days about something or another. Once I got it launched, I would hire a writer. The writer would continue writing the content for me, and I'm in the background. Nobody ever knew what I was doing. So I went to renew my security clearance. Renewed my security clearance. Of course, they did the background check. They needed to check my finances, blah, 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 blah. People started to have questions because things wasn't adding up. I'm a Sergeant First Class in the Army, but my tax returns were showing pretty healthy in comparison to most of my peers. So there were some red flags. I had to come out of the closet and tell my chain of command that while I didn't have a job, I couldn't yet classify it as a business yet because I didn't know anything about proper business structure. And I ended up getting into some serious trouble. And I was told by one of my senior leaders, those officers, right, that I needed to stop what I was doing. So by this point in time, I had 4 or 5 people that were working for me that, while I won't say they were dependent on the money, it was something that they had got to the point that they were enjoying it. But long story short, that was my first encounter where I had to sort of come out of the closet and I had to do like a big reveal and literally lay everything down. And it caused me a lot of heartache on the job. So then my chain of command started to look at me. Well, Guy, if you can do all of these things on the side, why aren't you doing more in your job? So once again, this conflict of interest passed up or came back up for me. So when you look at other service members, I think all of us come to this point where we have to sort of come out of the closet, or we have that come to Jesus moment where somebody's questioning us about what we do. And a lot of us, we're not comfortable standing with our feet in the fire. So there are some soldiers that I encounter that are doing great things in a digital space, but they choose to operate under aliases because they don't want anybody to know. We talk about freedom of speech, but, there's always limitations for those of us that still wear the uniform.
So so as a first sergeant, now let's say you got some gals working for you, and they're doing some side gigs, side jobs, online marketing, or, setting up websites or whatever, right? Now you can see it from both sides of the fence because you've been there. So would you? Obviously you're smart enough guy to probably figure out that some of your folks might be doing this. Is this something that you guys talk freely about, or do you just kind of know about it and you just kind of look the other way? Like, how do you how do you interact with that conversation with a soldier or whatever branch of service that you're in that may be doing some stuff on the side as basically you in their chain of command? Like, how do you deal with that?
So, leadership 101, you have to know your soldiers and you have to demonstrate that you truly care about them so that they can approach you about things like that. So I didn't know this until I became at the company level. The commander's finance report essentially gives you a deep look at every soldier in your organization and where his finances stand. So by being aware of your soldiers or your service members and the financial troubles, they have, sometimes you can sort of predict who may be doing a little something more simply by looking at that report. You can tell who the soldiers are in debt, and most of them, if they're in debt, they come into work tired, they're underperforming, there's probably something that's contributing to that. So you have to know them and understand enough about them that you can have that open dialogue and communicate. But us in the recruiting command, we have like a moonlighting form that we have to get endorsement by from the commander. And so, the Army, the recruiting command is on this big social media kick, and they've been riding a wave for a few years now. And soldiers are developing new skill sets, and they're trying to figure out different ways to make money on the side, So I had one soldier in Houston. He was a part of my organization, and this guy is sharp. And what he was doing, he built simple websites for people. But because he knew what I did, we're friends on Facebook. I believe in having an open dialogue, an open relationship, with them. They saw what I did and they were able to make a comparison. So now it went from, okay, instead of, sitting behind my desk when I'm supposed to be prospecting, actually on Facebook doing other things, I'm working on my personal stuff. I can show them how to maximize their time so they can focus on the mission first, because that's what really pays the bills. Yep. But at the same time, they can structure their life so they still have time to do those other things. My business to me is like a hobby. So, I went from building websites to buying them now. So my business model has constantly changed, and I try to educate as much as I possibly can, because I don't believe anybody should have to work hard to make ends meet. We should have to do our job, but we should always be able to think of creative ways to do our job more simpler, So
absolutely.
That's my thought process on that. Even me, when I look at my own evolution, it's easier for me to buy a website than it is to build one from scratch.
Yep, for sure.
So, when I realized that, I created a site called Authorized Boots when this big boot thing happened. All of a sudden, the SMA was saying what boots we could wear and what we couldn't wear, but there was no real guidance. So I thought of it and I built a site behind it. So I built this site up. In 90 days, I sold it for 5 figures. Now, think about that for a minute. I would say maybe 20 hours of work went into this site, and I made low 5 figures from it. So, that opened my eyes. It really did. So instead of spending 90 days building a site up, I said, okay, let me go look for sites that are already making money that's within my budget or price range, and let me acquire them, just like people buy real estate. So now my business model is simple. We find websites, we buy them, we rehab them or rehabilitate them, we build them up, and then we put them back on a marketplace for typically 2 to 3 times what we bought for them.
So what makes them more?
Flipping websites.
Yeah,
flipping websites.
So it's stern. So let's talk really quick about marketing and value, right? So what makes a website? Well, let's back up. What makes a website undervalued or not as valuable as it can be? And then what are different things that you do or can do to improve that website to make it more marketable and or valuable or sellable?
Great question. So monetization, and when we talk monetization, we're talking about how the ads are displayed on the site. So I'm looking at what's the UI user? Oh man, I'm having a brain fart here. User experience.
Yeah, UI UX.
Yeah, user experience. So when a person comes to the site, people are familiar with banner ads. They're familiar with ads. So what we have to do is figure out creative ways, and we have to optimize that, by running split test, A and B testing, to see what can I do to retain the people that are coming to my site, but at the same time, put them in a position where they have to click through my ads to more or less, or increase the time that they spend on the site and the likelihood that they'll click through the ads. So when I look at a site, let's say you're talking about, the best bank accounts for service members, just off the top of my head? Well, what most people will do is they'll write a great piece of content. They'll pump, 10, 12 hours into writing this piece of content. And then at the end of it, what they'll do is they'll insert a Google AdSense ad, and that's it. So their only monetization way of monetizing is that one single advertisement. So what we do is we look for sites that are under monetized, that are making a decent profit, and there's several different marketplaces out there. Once we discover one, we of course go through the marketplace, or if it's something we find on our own, we contact the owner and we put an offer out there. Just to put you in a ballpark, typically what they do is they look at the last 90 days of earnings that a website has, and then they multiply that by 20, and we begin a negotiation from there. So typically, most sites I get for about 18 times the last 90 days earnings. So, that's how we roughly evaluate them. So once I acquire the site, I own the domain name, it's in my GoDaddy account, and I possess all the data to the site. The next thing that we go about doing is a simple content audit. What you'll find is a lot of people that create content, they treat their website like a diary, and they write what they want to write about, or they produce content that they want to share versus, what people really are looking for. Right. So what we do is we look at the analytics and we look at the content. And for every piece of content that isn't getting traffic or is under monetized, we just delete it off the site. There's no need to keep it. So Google like thinner sites that are more, how can I frame this? That are more geared around similar concepts. So, in the military community, especially with military spouses, they have these lifestyle blogs where they wake up and, today the sun is blue and I love the way it feels, blah, 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 blah. Go to Amazon and buy this calculator. Okay. I can take a site like that. We delete all the fluff and find the value, where a military spouse or a service member or veteran are really pouring out their heart and their feelings about a topic that's relevant that other people care about, whether it's PCSing, whether it's portable careers. We look for content like that that's getting traffic. And then all we do is we will reproduce that piece of content. We'll add it back under the same URL with the same tags, optimized for the same keywords. We'll figure out more targeted ads to put on it. And then from there, we let the natural flow of time happen. Google reindexes the site. And then from there, what typically happens is the rankings increase. We do a little bit of influencer marketing. We find people that are talking about similar topics. We reach out to them. And some, for every 10 people we reach out, we may get 1 or 2 replies back. And then we use those people to share the content. So like with me, I don't have an audience. I don't need an audience because I'm a nobody. And I would prefer to stay that way. This is the first podcast or whatever we choose to call this that I have ever been on. And it's coincidental how it happened when you really think about it. But I prefer to stay behind the scenes.
Yes, it is.
I prefer to stay behind the scenes, and it worked for me. But now I'm at a point where last year I bought Mill Blogging from the original owner. And I don't know if you know the history about it, but it was a big conference that ran years ago when we were using blogs as a way to tell the Army story or the military story from the perspective of the service member. So we had soldiers spread all across the country, all across the world doing great things, but the media was portraying it in a different way. So people started producing content and writing blogs to tell their side of the story, what boots on the ground were actually doing. And it grew. Mill blogging became a buzzword, then something happened and it completely fell off. So when I had the opportunity, it was a site I purchased from the original owner, and I decided to bring the conference back. So, through a partnership with USA, I'm able to do that. So here we are.
That's
and
really cool.
And it's all about me finding a site or finding a niche, finding a site within that niche, rebuilding it and taking it to market. So now you see me because, yes, people want to spend money to come to the conference because they know that a lot of good things are going to happen. So, yeah, I have to come out the closet now.
Right. Yeah. No better time, right? I mean, seriously. So you got some pretty good speakers. I've looked at it. I saw the Mill Blogging conference, that you were putting it together, I think originally a few months ago.
Yes.
Plus, I had heard from it from a friend of ours, Eric Mitchell.
The man.
So we've done plenty of work with Eric. I talked to Eric quite a bit. And at the end of the day, he's a good guy. So
Yes.
we've been doing what, 2 years probably, Eddie?
Yeah. Oh, our stuff.
No, with Eric, like we've known him
Oh
probably
yeah, about 2 years. Yeah, close to
about 2
2
years.
years. Yeah.
So either way, and then I saw that Diana, the Veterati,
Tasai, yes.
Diana Tasai, which what's her last name
It's
now
Rue.
though? She's been Rue.
Yeah, she recently got married.
Great lady. And we just had a conference call with her the other day because we do a lot of mentorship with Veterati, and we love it. So at the end of the day, I'm just looking at it, it's like you're putting together all these folks to do this awesome conference to just add massive value to our community. So talk to us a little bit about it. I mean, we obviously got the backstory, but tell us what your plans are going forward.
So plans, the Mill Blogging Influencer Conference, when you think about our space, there's a lot of veterans doing a lot of great things. But, if I want coffee, what do? I turn to Dunkin' Donuts. And the reason I do that is because until a few weeks ago, I did not know there were veteran companies that were in the space.
Damn. Oh,
Yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Right there in Texas, my friend.
So when you think about it, it's that simple. I mean, you got Counter-Strike, Black Rifle, and Alpha Coffee,
Yep.
So
Yes,
those just the ones that I can think of off the top of my head. Now, we talk, we're veterans, we want to support veterans, but if we don't know about one another and what we're all collectively doing, it makes it very difficult for us to support one another.
Oh yeah.
So that's one solution that's one problem I want to solve with the Military Influencer Conference. I want to create something where us as a community, we can come together, and I got it. It's going to start small and it'll slowly gain momentum as time progresses.
Sure.
But I want to create an event where we can come together as entrepreneurs or individuals that are transitioning from the military that are interested in entrepreneurship. And we have an opportunity to network, connect, and learn and see what's out there. So we can start promoting one another instead of, wondering why society is constantly turning their backs on veterans. I think it's time for us to start taking care of ourselves.
Hell yeah.
And this conference is just going to be one way for us to go about doing that.
I looked at it as I said to, oh gosh, who was I talking to? Oh, my other business partner, Mike Penny, the other day. I was talking to him and I said, this conference has got the legs to really be like the South by Southwest of like the veteran community. You know what I mean? So I'm excited, my friend. That's all I had to say.
Yeah, appreciate it. I mean, there's two sides of the coin, because then you have the Spartans, the original people that were a part of it. And I have nothing but love for those individuals, but they don't want to have anything to do with it because at the time it meant something different for them. But everything has an evolution. We went from telling our story to figuring out how to tell our story and get paid for it. So now in my instance, I want to tell my story. I want to buy and sell websites, and I don't want to have to work for anybody else again. And this is the outlet that I can go about doing that. And so talking about speakers, Dan Alaric, Grunt Style, that's an all-American story. It doesn't get any simpler than that. Emily Nunez Cavness from Sword and Plow. I mean, she was a captain in the Army, and she gave all that up to start a business employing veterans and military spouses, taking us or people like us with PTSD and other issues that we have from service, and creating a constructive environment where they can overcome that. But at the same time, they can add value to society. We have Kevin Kermes, former Army officer, who essentially, this guy is helping transitioning service members find careers, and he's doing it through content. He has a list of something, I think 400,000 people, and he made it. And oh, by the way, he didn't pay a dime for any type of anything to make it. And I can go on and on just talking about speakers, but this is something different. It's something, while I won't say it's unique, because I got to give a shout out to VetCon and what they started earlier this year. But it's a different space. We are
it is digital entrepreneurs.
While some of us may be trying to start something, for the most part, we create content, we transition, and we want to learn how to improve our skill sets as entrepreneurs, whether it's creating content, doing things on social media, starting or implementing or monetizing a podcast. How do we make what we're doing better? And with this conference, it's an open door for that. I can't forget the man behind the duffel blog.
Duffel blog is hysterical, man.
Yeah, I mean, and I can just go on and on and on, but
I really dig because Bennett and I, we have a lot of veteran organizations come on the show as guests, and a lot of them, to be honest with you, are product producers, right? Like we had Brandon on from Black Rifle, and a lot of people that create
let's not Counter-Strike.
I'm sorry, Counter-Strike Coffee. Should we edit that, Bennett?
No, because he'll laugh at it. Brandon will laugh at it.
I get all my people mixed up, man.
It's fine. That's why you have me. Yeah. That's why you have me, brother.
So Bennett's my my recon keeps my shit straight guy, which is good. But so we have a lot of product creation type folks that come on the show, authors selling books, things like that, and we very rarely get people on that are in more of like the blogging, type of space, or monetizing websites or online content, right? So so that's a different element, that's a different piece of it, and that's harder. I mean, it's not as black and white as I've created a product, I understand what my costs are, costs of goods, right, that go into producing it. I figure out what my margins are. I figure out what my sales price needs to be. I mean, it's a little bit more black and white when you're actually selling product. I'm not saying it's easy.
Of course.
I'm not saying it's easy by any stretch, but it's definitely a little bit clearer. But now you get into online content, and it's harder to wrap value around information, right? Because what one person considers to be valuable may not be considered valuable to somebody else. And so what do you say to people that are blogging or in the content creation in terms of information creation, or even service creation, in terms of how do they value, how do they figure out their valuation of their service or their product, and their product being information, and especially in the veteran space. And the reason Bennett and I were talking about this morning, as a matter of fact, is we've done a very good job as a collective veteran community to condition ourselves that veterans deserve to have everything for free. Right?
Big mistake, right?
Right? We've done a very good job. Every veterans are owed everything, and everything should be free, all the way from education to a permanent job to healthcare benefits to you name it. As veterans, we should have everything provided to us. So the second a veteran is asking for money for a service and or product they're selling to another veteran, it's blasphemy, right? Oh, I can't believe you're trying to take you're taking advantage of veterans.
I'm not trying to be a hater, because I love you all, veteran community.
Yes.
But unless you're a T-shirt or a coffee company.
Right. Yes.
Because nobody gives them shit about.
No, nobody gives them shit about. Oh, what you're selling? You're selling your coffee? You're not giving that away for free? How So all right. So there's a lot going on with this particular conversation. I'm kind of going on a little bit of a rant, but like it's difficult to. It's more difficult to monetize information and content. It's difficult to find that valuation, and it's also difficult to actually ask for the sale because people expect it for free. What do you say about all of that?
So one, you got to choose your customer base.
Yeah.
So, because we know how our community can sometimes be. Why put yourself in a situation where you have to rely on just them to support your business?
Yes.
So that's one thing to consider. From a content perspective, I'm going to argue against what you just said. I know that first off, let me clarify something. So nobody starts Googling my name and looking for all this great content that I produce. It don't happen. Okay. Because number one, I know what my skill set is. I have the ability to look at a situation and create a plan and execute. My execution isn't me executing. It's taking money out of my account and paying somebody to do that execution for me. So I have a team of writers, and in most cases, they're veterans or military spouses that have a skill set that I don't have. So what we essentially do is we do our homework first. You gotta research. You gotta know the battlefield before you step into a situation. And I said it earlier that people write about or they create content about what they want versus what's needed at that point in time. So transition is a topic that's on everybody's mind. But if you think about it, besides LinkedIn, there aren't a whole lot of blogs or content being produced to support that. So what does it look like? I'm a transitioning service member. Now I'm coming back to your question. I'm a transitioning service member going through the process, and I want to be an entrepreneur when I grow up. So while I'm going through this process, I'm taking notes so that I can show through content to the next person how to do it and avoid the mistakes to get the outcome that they want. So, stuff like that doesn't exist right now, and there's a need for it. So I've done my homework. I've verified. I've looked at Google. I've searched and verified that there's not a lot of content geared around the process to get where you want to be. So now that I know that, the next thing I do is I take my notes and I turn them over to a writer who produces a phenomenal piece of content that people share. Okay? The type of stuff that, Task and Purpose and We Are the Mighty write. If you think about their writing style, it's geared to get people to click, read through, and share it. So if you can look at the format, and there's tools out there. I mean, on another show, I can break you down an entire process on how to build and monetize a site. But there's tools out there that show you which sites are producing the great content that people are sharing. And all you do is look at what they're doing, essentially, and you try to not copy, but you try to reproduce that style in your own tone. Now you're on to something, okay? Now you're on to something. And then from that point, you have the ads, whether it's a banner ad, it's a link ad, or whatever it may be, or link to a product. In my case, my product being the conference that we're hosting, right?
Yeah.
So that's the product. And all we need to do is funnel traffic to it. So a lot of people from a content perspective, you think you can just throw stuff on Google, Google's going to swallow it, and they're automatically going to send people to you. It really doesn't work like that. So this is a business for me. So I know that I have to invest and grow in my business, and that requires me. So if I have a product that pays, let's say USAA has an affiliate program, and they actually do, by the way, that every person that opens an account with USAA, they give a commission for it. And let's just say that commission is $15, right? So I know that if I get 100 people to go to this page and it converts at 10% and I get paid, $150 for that 10% that converted, what happens when I pay for ads and I get 1,000 people to come to that same page? Okay. Now my 150 is now potentially 1,500 if my math is right. Right. So all you need to do is figure out what's working and how to get more traffic to it. And that increases your bottom line. That's the solution.
Nice.
It's not, I got to write a piece of content every day of the week. It's no, what content is working? What content is working? And how do I get more people to see it? When you figure out that equation for your niche, you'll see your profitability increase in folds.
Yeah.
And it's not complicated when you really think about it.
That's really cool, man. We're going to have to get you back on the show and kind of dive in a little bit for my own selfish reasons, because I know there's a lot of opportunity on the changeyourpov.com website that's probably I'm missing some opportunities for monetization, because I really haven't explored a lot of affiliate placements or even Google AdWords or anything like that on the website. I'm not sure, it's one of those things where would it devalue the website, or would it make it more valuable? I don't know, right? So those are the things that I would love to get into and talk with you further. And I can't believe you've never been on a podcast before, because you definitely sound like you've done this before. And
brother, let me tell you, you broke my virginity today.
Nice. We do that. We've been doing that a lot lately, huh, Bennett? Is he still there? Oh, he might have dropped off. Hold on.
No, I just muted.
Oh, okay.
We've been doing that a lot lately.
Yep.
It's a whole lot of virginity taken lately.
We're just gonna change. We're gonna call our show like the Cherry Poppers or something. I don't know.
This is the first.
Curtez, tell us more about where we can find you.
Yeah.
And tell us like the links and everything about the conference and the whole shebang.
All right. So to wrap it up, I'm looking at bringing 250 great Americans to Dallas, Texas, from the 23rd to the 24th of October for what we're calling or coining the Military Influencer Conference. It's going to be a one-of-a-kind event where people can network and learn to grow their online business. And also, if they're a small business owner and they're concerned about transitioning into the digital space, you're not going to find another place for the same price point that's going to provide you with the level of education that we're going to provide in Dallas. So the website is MIL blogging, blogging.com. And, all of our information are on the site. To find me, my name is Curtez, Curtez Riggs, Riggs. I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook. I'll accept any requests so long as y'all can see that you're related to the military. And, we'll go from there.
That's very cool.
Man, it's going to be like drinking water from a fire hose at this conference. I have a feeling.
Yeah, I won't be able to. I don't think I won't be able to attend this year, but I would love, if this is going to be an annual thing, I would love to come check it out. Make plans to come out next year, and who knows, I might even get up there and do the converting military experience, Bennett. You
never know.
Yeah. So I'm putting together an online, just so you know, Curtez, so you're aware of it. I'm putting together an online webinar where I actually go through and talk about and teach how to convert, like tangible, like how to convert military experience into civilian terminology. So it's what I do, and it's what I teach on Veterati with the mentees, and they're really digging it. So I'm taking it on the road, as they say. But
it's a product all in itself, man.
Yeah,
I mean, if you really sat down, you push everything else away, dedicate a week or two to get it done, you have a product that's going to be evergreen.
Yep.
You create a membership site. Of course, your experience is worth something to people. If they'll pay $300 for a resume that's not guaranteed to get them a job, you best believe somebody would drop $10 or $20 into a class like that that's giving that top-notch information.
Yep.
It's just that, because we grew up in a military in an environment where we're used to getting everything for free in most cases, we get spoiled. We don't want to pay for anything, but we're a little bit older now, more mature, and you have to pay for the things that are going to be valuable for you.
I think it's changing. I do think it's changing.
Well, not only that, but there's something that Russell Brunson, who is the CEO of ClickFunnels, he said,
great man.
Yeah, he said something that really stands out to me. He goes, people who pay attention. And people who don't, they don't. And that's the thing, is if you don't have some skin in the game, if you don't invest a little bit in yourself, no matter how good the information is, you're not going to take it to heart. You're not going to take action on it. You're not going to see results. People who pay attention. And that, for no other reason, is the number one reason why I think giving away everything for free is not doing anybody any service. Is doing a service. So
Of course. And no, there's a fine line there. The conference points, I mean, anybody can show up, network, and learn, and you're paying $100. That's $100 investment into an education that can potentially change your life if you pay attention.
That's right.
When else are you going to get people like, let me throw this out there, Eli Crane from Bottle Breacher.
Right, exactly.
Potentially, Matthew from Combat Flip Flops. Cameron Cruz from R Riveter. All of these are big military brands that's going to be in one room, and they're going to be spewing information and practical tips to help you change your quality of life. Why wouldn't you come?
Hell yeah. Very cool. Well, thank you, sir, for coming on the show, man. We actually pulled this one off in record time, I think. But other than all of Bennett's ums and my jackassery of referencing the wrong coffee company, I think there's very little editing required here, Bennett.
I agree.
Thanks, guys. This was an awesome experience. I couldn't have done this with anybody. I don't think, plenty of people have asked me to do a podcast, and I'm scared, literally. But you guys, you brought me that sense of comfort. So no, I think I'm gonna go on a little podcast tour.
Hell yeah!
Hey man, we really, at the end of the day, if you need help, we got phone numbers for everybody.
Yep,
so
also do.
If you need it, and that's our game, man. We try to make guys think like they're just sitting there smoking and joking with their boys. So that's what it's all about.
Yep. I didn't even realize you were recording, to be honest with you. Not until you started
just having a
talking
conversation, right?
Oh shit! I forgot to hit record.
Yeah, I'll kill you.
All right,
guys.
all right, folks.
Hey.
You can find all the show notes for this episode by heading over to changeyourpov.com. Never miss an episode. Hit subscribe on your podcast player of choice. We have a lot more great content headed your way. And hey, come be a part of our community over at Change Your POV Squad Facebook group. We got a lot of crazy stuff going on over there. I would love, more than anything, guys, if you dig Curtez and everything he's got going on, you got some value out of this episode. I know I did. Do us a favor, head over to iTunes and leave us an honest rating and review. We'd love to get those, and it helps people find the show. All right, folks, until next time.